Hello friends, my name is Denis Korablev, and today I want to share with you a real story of wood restoration. We work in Florida, right by the ocean, where the climate doesn't spare even the most durable materials. Sun, humidity, salt, wind, all of these attack wood every minute. But if you approach it with intelligence, patience, and respect, wood doesn't just survive, it thrives. We don't just apply varnish, we restore the soul of the wood. And now you'll see how this happens step by step. We'll start with the doors, because working with wood doesn't begin with the ceiling or the floor, but with your attitude. And oak doors are a perfect example of how important it is to do everything properly. So, the doors, real oak, panels, depth, history. First, we carefully removed the hardware. Nothing was broken and sent everything off for powder coat. The metal should be no worse than the wood. Next comes the hair dryer, the scraper, and patience. We remove the old varnish slowly without rushing, layer by layer. Oak is a temperamental material, especially if it's been standing for 10 or 20 years already. It requires not force, but finesse. After cleaning, we use the sander. Just like with the ceiling, we work along the grain. We don't push, we don't drive.
We've applied the conditioner. This is a mandatory step, like priming a surface. When you're working on a completely clean surface, it's essential to apply the conditioner. The conditioner will smooth out some of the roughness a bit. Only after this can we apply the gel stain. So we start by applying it in a thick layer. The wood absorbs as much as it can at this stage. Then we spread it out, wipe off the excess, and if there are any spots with poor coverage or the piece looks patchy, we'll go back and touch up those areas to create a nice, even pattern. But oak is a noble wood, and usually everything turns out right the first time.
The difference here is that we used the gel stain and applied it by hand with rags, because every panel needs to be treated with care. Varnish is applied exclusively with a brush, not a sprayer. With a brush, so that every corner is covered evenly. And of course, the finishing steps. Sanding between coats, washing, careful drying, and protection. The doors have been transformed. It's as if they've come to life. And when the hardware was put back, the shine was not only on the wood, but also in the client's eyes. Now we move on to the ceiling. The ceiling is made of pine and has been in a coastal house for over 20 years, where the sun, moisture, and salt take their toll every day. Its condition is critical. The varnish is destroyed, there is mold in some places, and the wood is either blackened or faded. Stains and streaks everywhere. Partial restoration is out of the question. We immediately realized that everything had to be stripped down to the base. Otherwise, there would be transition, stains, and that almost made it effect. But we needed to be perfect. We started by preparing the site, set up scaffolding, extension ladders, secured everything, and made sure it was all insured. No improvisation, only safety and stability. The tools we used included orbital and vibrating sanders, a heat gun, putty knives, as well as chemical strippers. We tried acid-based solutions, spray cans and brushes, but ran into problems. Strong odors, aggressive fume, and difficulties with sanding afterward. Conclusion: only mechanical stripping is reliable, clean, and safe. And another very important step that everyone forgets about is protecting the space. We completely covered the floors with cardboard, the walls with plastic sheeting, and moved all the plants into the shade. We secured everything with tape to prevent both dust and drafts. Why is this important? Because everything that is applied stains, varnishes, sanding dust can settle everywhere. And we respect not only the wood, but also the home around it. Cleanliness means professionalism, the work it. First, we heated it with a heat gun. Second, we removed it with a scraper. Third, we went over it with a sander using 80 grit sandpaper. This combination proved to be the most effective. Minimal dust, maximum control. For the final sanding, we used 180 grit sandpaper. The surface became smooth as glass, but remained alive with the wood's texture.
This is what the mold looks like. It got a little baked, and because of that, it started to show up really strongly. Here too, you can see it very clearly. When you heat it up, it usually smells like garbage. And then It's also really hard to sand off. After you remove the top layer of varnish with a heat gun, it's really hard to sand down, so we use different machines, including rotary ones, to do it.
We also discovered mold and applied an antifungal spray. The result? Whitish spots under the varnish. Conclusion? Don't take risks, it's better to sand. Then we apply the wood conditioner. It helps the stain absorb evenly. A sprayer plus a brush, the main thing is not to overdo it. We also applied the stain. We offered the client 3 colors. He chose gold and oak, and it was spot on. The stain was used as is, without dilution. We applied it with the sprayer, then used the brush to spread it out, removing any excess and preventing drips. Just a day after applying the conditioner, the ceiling was finally ready for varnishing. We carefully diluted the oil-based varnish, which included UV protection, by about 12% using mineral spirits so it would pass more easily through the sprayer. If you are using a brush, there is no need to dilute the varnish. We applied it square by square, carefully, watching out for drips. If any drips did form, we used the cloth and mineral spirits to gently wipe away the excess varnish, and then applied a thin layer of varnish again with the spray gun. 24 hours after the ceiling dried, microfibers appeared. We sanded them by hand with 320 grit sandpaper. We used soft sanding blocks. The yellow ones are better than the purple ones. We didn't spend much time on this, since we just needed to lightly knock down the fibers. After sanding, we wiped it down with a sponge and clean water, changing the water frequently. We worked together, everything was clean, with no streaks. We applied the second coat to the ceiling, using the same lacquer dilution. We waited 4 hours between the second and third coats. The third coat we applied was thinner and ultralight. This time, we diluted it by 15 to 18%. It gave a smooth gloss, depth, and durability. We returned to the site a few days later. The ceiling shines, the lights are in place, and the hardware is painted. It looks as if this isn't Florida, but a villa in Italy. And it's all thanks to 3 coats, patience, and the right technique. The choice of oil-based varnish was no accident. Polyurethane doesn't last outdoors, while oil penetrates deeply and protects for decades. We gave a 10-year warranty, but we know it will last all of 20, because here everything is done with respect for the wood, the craft, and the people. Why did I even make this video? Because I myself have often looked for such details and couldn't find them. I used to have a workshop. We made staircases, doors, and facades. I know for sure. Wood can feel it when you work with real care, and it gives back 100-fold. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. And if you didn't like it, give it a like anyway, because it's honest, detailed, and heartfelt. That's not something you see very often. Take care of yourselves, take care of the wood, and see you at the next project. If you have any questions, you can leave them below the video and I'll definitely answer them. All the best to everyone.